All right, I just want to go back to one cricket matter I forgot to discuss, and that's the power broking. India, Australia, England. What's in that? Are you fearing the outcome of that for New Zealand cricket?
Totally, and I'm a bit worried about New Zealand cricket's tactics, actually, Tom. It seems to me that these three countries, these self-appointed big three, I mean, I don't know why they're the big three in one way. I mean, South Africa are the best team in the world at the moment. I suppose they're saying they produce most of the money. They still need someone to play. Are they going to just play between themselves, the three of them? That'd be pretty boring. I mean, the Tri-Nations is bad enough. Three people playing cricket, three countries playing cricket would be pretty tedious. You need other countries in there. You think they would be trying to grow the world game, not stifle it by saying, well, we three are very important, the rest don't matter. So, and I'm worried about New Zealand's tactics. Rather than just secure their own tours, oh, it's all right, India will come here again, I think we should be standing up to those three and saying, this is totally unacceptable for world cricket. It's got to be global. There's no tiers.
They have a disgusting amount of money involved, don't they? We're talking about $35 million for TV rights for New Zealand versus India. It's unbelievable money that we can't walk away from.
Well, that is astounding, and but then look at the money. I mean, look at the money that the IPL pays players and coaches and everyone. God knows what Stephen Fleming's on. He's the winning coach over there. Martin Crowe was telling me he was on $2 million 7 years ago for being a coach. This is 7 years later, and Fleming's the winning coach. I mean, God knows what he's making for 6 weeks' work.
So Vittoria wasn't turning down a job there, was he?
No, he had his hand up and he was on his way, and the rest of it could take its chances.
All right, let's talk about a couple of sad things on the sporting scene. First of all, Ian Thorpe, I know you wrote an article about that. Did you see any signs of it in your dealings with him when he was at his peak, that he was a troubled man?
No, not at all. It's a funny thing about... it's an odd thing about depression. I talked to John Kerwin about this one day and said, I spoke to you dozens of times, and now there's your book and you're depressed the whole time. I never knew. And he said, you can put on an act for an hour, or he said the adrenaline's pumping for an hour. He said it's when you go back to your hotel room and you're by yourself that it hits you. And I suppose it was the same with Thorpe. I mean, when you're on the dais or when you're on the podium, it's fine. You've got the cameras of the world upon you and you're pumped up. But when you're left by yourself and there's that sort of anticlimax afterwards, I suppose that's the time you have to cope with it. But I never saw, and I don't know how he managed to drink all the way through and still train. It's phenomenal, really. He was certainly a very happy bloke around a pool, and I watched him during the 2012 Olympics, and he was an outstanding commentator, expert commentator in the studio.
He had a lot of pressures, questions about sexuality, about his money, so all those things don't help if you're struggling as it is, does it?
Yeah, I don't think he had too many money pressures. I think he was making plenty of money. I mean, there was always suggestions he was gay. I don't really care if he was gay or not. And in fact, if I'd had to put my money in, I'd have thought he was pretty obviously gay. But he wrote a book and said he wasn't. He said if he was, he'd say so. And fair enough. I mean, that was just him.
And reading Martin Crowe's book, there's similarities here, isn't there? Sports people are absolutely safe in their own environment playing the game, and as soon as they step out of it, maybe that's Jesse Ryder too.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. In that last Martin Crowe book, in the foreword that Grant Fox wrote, he said that he thought cricket was a tough game and it must be very lonely out in the middle when there's you and then there's all these fieldsmen and bowlers trying to get you out. And Crowe read it and said to me, he said, that was my happiest place out there. He said the rest of the time was when I had trouble. And I suppose it was the same with, it's been the same with Thorpe. And you're right, maybe it's the same with Ryder. He's okay when he's got a bat in his hand, he's out in the middle. How do you handle the rest of life is the dilemma.
Just reminds us that these are just people. I mean, there's lots of people with depression and alcohol problems who can't play cricket and can't swim, so they're not on their own.
No, I do. I mean, the thing is, would they have these problems anyhow? And maybe they would, but maybe being superstars and having all that publicity and pressure, that sort of pressure, we've all got pressures, but the pressure they have, maybe that makes it worse. It magnifies it, and so it's even harder to handle, maybe.
Yeah, because you don't, maybe Mark Spitz might be the happiest guy in the world. It doesn't necessarily go together. Some people can cope with it, perhaps others can't.
Yeah, but if you are that sort of a personality that you're going to be tortured or have trouble, depression or whatever, and then you're putting yourself under that incredible bright spotlight, maybe that will draw that out more. I mean, lots of people have no trouble handling it, but maybe if you're that sort of personality to start with.
And the other sad story is Michael Schumacher lives his life on the edge and then falls over it and has a tragic accident, and signs not good.
Yeah, but it's just freakish, isn't it? I mean, it's not like he's had a crash driving a car at 350 kilometres an hour. He's had a skiing accident, and an awful lot of people go skiing. That's just freakishly tragic. A bit like Hansi Cronje having a plane crash when there was all those questions about him with the match fixing. Then he has a plane crash and dies. I mean, sometimes there's no accounting for it, is there?
I think I wouldn't say it's irony because it implies humour, but this is a guy that if he got his braking timing wrong, could have got killed at any stage, whereas perhaps Hansi Cronje was fairly safe playing cricket.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, but I mean, it's just a fluke, and it's really tragic. I mean, it sounds like even if he didn't die from this, he's never going to be Schumacher again.
Let's talk about something happier. Lydia Ko, transition to professionalism, seems to be quite successful.
Isn't she fantastic? I mean, she's so calm and mature, and she's really good. I mean, she's straight out there, played first tournament as an LPGA member in the Bahamas and was right up the leaderboard, rushed back here, still jet-lagged, second in our Open. I mean, she's terrific. Well,
it brings me to the question about coaching here. There's always the delay with the changing pro and what the fallout would be. Well, as soon as you did, the coach was sacked. Harsh, some people will say.
Do you think that's overstating it a bit? I mean, he wasn't going to travel around the world with her, and she obviously felt if she's going to be a full-time touring professional, she's going to need someone who's around the world. So, I mean, I don't feel that she could rush back to Auckland every time she wanted to talk to a coach.
I felt his story changed when later interviewed that suddenly he wasn't, I don't know whether he changed conveniently, but it just seemed a bit harsh, I thought, not to have some involvement, to have every involvement and then have none.
Yeah, look, I don't know the ins and outs of it. You'd like to think they're still friends and they talk and he gives her advice and so on. I mean, he's known her since she was 4 and helped her all that way, and she's become a great player because of him. But if it was a practical arrangement, I could understand that, where she needed someone more on site.
But look at the New Zealand cricket team. Mike Hesson came in under some degree of controversy, a low-profile sort of person. How much credit does he get?
Well, you've got to give him some credit. I think he handled that Taylor thing atrociously, so I have no faith in him at all after that. I don't think he told the truth, and I think his handling of it was terrible. Maybe he's been helped by the fact that Bruce Edgar's come on board too, to add a bit of sanity to that selection situation. However, the dressing room seems happy. You said, though, you always have a happy dressing room when your teams are winning. They're happy at the moment, so Heston's a great bloke. If they lose 4 in a row, they'll be calling for his head again, I suppose.
One issue in cricket that annoys me, I've got to get off my chest, is that New Zealand's now touring with a substitute fielder. They're carrying around with them a guy from Wellington. You've got a squad. The touring team don't have that luxury. Why should the home team have that? Why can't you play one of your named players? Surely they're good enough.
I think your 12th man should be your substitute fielder. I reckon it's terrible. It's like they banned the runner in cricket and the substitute fielder should be a no-go. The 12th man should be the person. So if you take Doug Bracewell into the squad and on the morning of the game you make him 12th man, he should be your substitute fielder. This is ridiculous.
Assuming he hasn't broken his foot the night before.
Well, let him hobble round.
He's another sad. He's just mixing in the wrong company. Unfortunately, it's one of his teammates.
What do you want him opening the batting with, Jesse?